Hi ladies and gentlemen, it's April 28th, Sunday, and I wanted to just bring a couple of things up this morning to you, primarily because these investigations on what's happening around the world and why can get really in depth. And the problem with going in depth in something like on YouTube here, unless I made a long video, and there are reasons why I'm not doing that right now. And by long I mean like an hour. Okay, I try to give you some information so that you can kind of look at the big picture with the important parts, because no one except the people that are doing these things are really going to know the playbook. We can get evidence, we can see corroborating information, those types of things. And some of that's already happened. The fact that there was a drill in Boston, the fact that there were paramilitary there, the fact that there were these operatives who the FBI had known for so long, trying to turn them into lone jihadists, which obviously is not the case. Not that they didn't talk about it from time to time, that was part of what they were supposed to do. But there's some other anomalies here that I see that I would hope that you take at least a second look at, and eventually hopefully we can get this whole thing ironed out. But make no mistake about it, the people that have done this are experts at it. They've been doing it for years and years and years, and they have control of the media, they control the dialogue. And I'm not just talking about Boston, okay, I'm talking about all of the similar situations that we've seen through the years. The name calling of people that ask questions of merit, that kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that this entire situation is a lot bigger than it looks. One of my videos a while back, I said we're at a dangerous time because of struggles going on within the government, and make no mistake about it, that's going on. The forced retirement of some of our best generals is a really good indication of that. This bombing in Boston is an indication of that, and I'm just going to point this out. I can't point to exact units or people or whatever, with a couple of exceptions. You know about the Saudi who was injured in the bombing, put in the hospital, visited by Michelle Obama, and deported. Well, not deported. He was encouraged to leave. He was helped to leave to avoid anybody getting information out of him. He wasn't deported as much as he escaped. Similarly to the way so many of the Saudis, especially the bin Ladens, left the day after 9/11 when nobody else could fly. These things are critical to understand because they show you where and how these decisions are made. Again, you don't get a full painted picture or a structure, but you can put the pieces together. And that's really what investigation is. When a criminal investigator gets into a case, that criminal investigator doesn't have all the information to begin with. What he or she has to do is to prevent their own prejudice from entering in. In other words, sort of like what the United States, the White House did during the Iraq War and 9/11 and all that, and that is get intelligence, cook it to make it so it conforms to the policy you want. You really can't do that as an investigator any more than you should at the national level in the White House or anywhere else. You should get the information and try to look at it from almost a vacuum, okay, as possibly non-prejudicial as you can. That doesn't mean that eventually you don't form a hypothesis and then try to prove it out. It's very scientific in that regard. But that's how we have to look at this. And so I give you these pieces a little bit because I'm looking at these too, all right? And this is where I'm going with it today. Sorry about that long introduction. All right. We have this Saudi that was injured in the bomb. First of all, he has ties to the White House. Strong ties. What is he doing there? Okay, oh, he was just in Boston watching the Boston Marathon, right at the finish line. Well, okay, that's an okay place to be. That in and of itself doesn't mean a whole lot. But then we talk about the bombing, and he gets injured in the bombing. He's at first a person of interest, and then supposedly the FBI goes and talks to him, and then they say, no, he's not a suspect after all. Okay? Interestingly enough, now I'm going to bring up, I know a lot of you guys don't like Alex Jones, but you got to understand what I do. I pull information from all kinds of sources. And there was something that happened to one of Alex Jones' reporters. You know, he's kind of an elephant in the china closet, but that's kind of why I think he's so effective. And his name's Dan Bidandi, I believe. He went to the press conference of the FBI when they were bringing out, you know, some of this information on the supposed bombers and all that, and he stood right up and started showing some pictures. Did you notice who responded to him? This Saudi was protected, all right? He had close ties to the White House. He zoomed out of here under some pretense of deportation under national security. All of these things are questionable. The two bombings, I still maintain, I have yet to see a picture of Tamerlan at the first bombing site. I don't think he was there. And I'm going to maintain that unless the evidence comes out otherwise. And that's not critical, other than to say that then, what's the Saudi doing there? You see what I'm saying? And there were some others, of course, all the backpacks and all that were going on. This was definitely a covert operation that had smoke screens all around it. So that tells me that the president has something to hide, something to protect. And it probably falls on this Saudi national. Do you remember the movie Swordfish with John Travolta? You remember what he did? The point of the whole Swordfish movie was that he needed to make sure that money was going to, government money was going to anti and counterterrorism. By the way, there's a difference. Anti-terrorism are the processes you do to try to prevent terrorism. Counterterrorism is reacting to an actual incident or stopping it, if that makes sense. Anyway, so if you want to know how they can justify hurting innocent people for the greater perceived good, that's the end justifies the means, the Machiavellian principle. Go watch Swordfish. That'll tell you quite a bit. Well, today's April 30th, and sorry I'm squinting again. The sun's right there, but try to give a little different background like I like to do. You know, you've probably heard by now that there have been bombings in Prague, new things happening in Iraq. One of the Syrian government officials barely escaped a car bombing. We've had Boston. You know, the United States leads the world in a lot of things, and one is how to stage terror attacks. They've been very good. You know, we've talked about some of these before, but I want you folks, if you have time, to go back and look at Operation Northwoods, Operation Gladio, Operation Ajax. Familiarize yourself with those and realize that those are the types of things that our government has done, and they're going to do it time and time again. What am I saying there? What I'm saying is that governments have done it all along, but man, we've made such a huge advance in how we pull this off on our people that it's getting popular everywhere. You know, they say that we got the Islamic jihadists in Chechnya mad at us. You know, there's a question I got to raise on this for you, and that is that the Chechens were made, like I said before, very similar to the Taliban in Afghanistan, to cause Russia trouble. We've backed them, we've supported them. So what point would it be for them to attack America? It doesn't make any sense. Why? Because they're just mad at the United States. You know, their problem is with Russia. So that's not it. But something else is going on here, and I wanted to bring this out, and I kind of alluded to it the other day, and that is that there have been some suggestions, and I'm not certain that it's incorrect, that the Russians have gone along with the U.S. maybe intervening in Syria as a trade-off so that they can go after the Chechnyan rebels. Well, you know, when I think about the United States presence in Syria as as a problem for Russia compared with the Chechnyan or Caucasus rebels. There's no comparison in the strategic concerns of Russia. So I'm not sure that that's it. I'm not sure that that's it at all. But, you know, they want this war in Syria one way or the other. And even though they keep bringing up, oh, you know, the old game, oh, well, they've got WMD. Well, we've heard that how many times before? And this time, it's a fact that we know for a certainty that the Syrian rebels are the ones that use the sarin gas. But they want this war in Syria. They want this war eventually against Iran. We've got the nuclear trigger in North Korea. So with China and Russia being surrounded by U.S. interests, why would the Russians make such an agreement? Well, I'm not sure that they did. I'm not sure that's what's going on here at all. So I'm not going to make a judgment on that yet, but I know I've been hearing some of that, and strategically it just doesn't make any sense to me. That trade-off doesn't make any sense. So something else is happening here, and I think it's this. I'll just kind of make a real quick judgment, but save the real meat for maybe a little later when I get some more information. This terror thing is proving to be a very lucrative thing for governments, money-wise, power-wise, as it's always been. But as I said, it's reaching new levels. So if we agree to allow the Chechens, the Russians and the Chechens to have at it, so that Russia can get, whatever it's really after from its people. And of course, we have these things happening in the United States, so that the United States are rushing, our folks, like in Boston there, after they got on lockdown, martial law, USA, USA, USA. Right after they had these jackbooted thugs, as I've said before, come into their homes and point weapons at their wives and children and make them put their hands up and haul them out of their homes, all for one 19-year-old. And we rah that. Boy, the Russians must have seen that and said, man, you guys are good. Tell us how you do that. Let us have a shot at that. Because power wants to stay in power and will do anything it can to do it. All right. So I'm just not sure that, like I said, that this has anything to do with the Russians making a trade off the Chechens for Syria. I don't quite buy that under the circumstances. Wherever that leads, I'm going to watch it for a little while. Okay, one thing of importance I did want to say is this thing that came out in the Rolling Stone. I've heard a little bit about it now. A gentleman by the name of Matt Taibbi finally admitted that all these people that have been talking about a banking elite that are taking over the world, the New World Order concept, he says, you know what, you guys were right. I guess you've heard about this, you probably have. You have the LIBOR scandal, you have the ICAP that's very similar to LIBOR going on, where they fix these interest rates, make billions of dollars, and it's ruining the world, and that's the way it's coming down. People again have asked, well, how do you take over a country? Well, remember, as I've said before, as Baron Rothschild said, let me control the currency and I care not who makes a country's laws. So they're doing it through that system. It's not to free us all in the end, and all you got to do is look at the fruits of this thing, the death, the destruction, well, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet. No. You could build with a new system, but it's to keep the power in the hands of a few. It's not about liberating the masses, so please don't think that. Well, I kind of rambled along on this one, but I didn't want to leave anything really unturned today as far as what might be happening of concern. I will go back for just a minute on this Chechnyan thing, because I think it's important to realize where these people, again, got their support. James Woolsey, the old ex-CIA director, Richard Pearl, those guys, they established the biggest lobby for the Chechens. It was called the America Committee for Peace in Chechnya. So what we've done here is we make a terror group, as I've said before, and we use it for our advantage, even if it means killing a few of our own people. So we ask ourselves, why is it that, we go in and we try to fix Libya and it gets worse? Now the Muslim extremists are taking control. Duh, was that a surprise? Same thing in Egypt. Everywhere we go, it's the same story. And here we go with Syria to do the same thing again. And we act like we don't really understand what's happening. How could this be? It's not an accident, ladies and gentlemen. It's deliberate to keep wars going, the clash of civilizations, the murder of innocents for money. That's what it's about. It's about a small group of people making it from this. And that's really what's happening here. So it's not a mistake. None of this is a mistake. It's all deliberate. It's not incompetence. It's complicit in making the world a worse place, not a better. So look at that, would you please? It's something to consider. Again, I've kind of rambled on today. I'm debating some other issues right now, and probably make some decisions on that. I hope you all have a wonderful day. It looks like it's going to be nice here, even though the sun's in my eyes. All right. Thanks for listening. Hopefully things stay quiet for us, but don't bet on it. Things are going to happen.